Hi guys, it's Mrs. Rest here. Tonight's notes are over Mesopotamia, and basically it's geography and how people first settled here. When you're taking notes, please make sure you are using the assigned pages from our notebook that you received today in class. If you were gone, make sure that you're checking Edmodo or the Piper Middle School site with my page to get the information there. If you need to review how to take notes, you can also find that information on Edmodo or on the Piper Middle School webpage. Okay? So the title tonight of your notes is Mesopotamia. Make sure you write that down and date it. The idea that we're looking at today is that between two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, was the site of the first civilization. So sometimes you'll hear this called the birthplace of civilization or the cradle of civilization because it is the first. If you need to slow down, hear something again, repeat, rewind, whatever, this is your notes. You do what makes you comfortable and be ready to go over these tomorrow, okay? 5 questions that we're going to be writing down on the left side of our notebook and looking for the answers for today, either because they're written down in the presentation or I'm talking about them during the presentation, are the following. Number 1, what would be pros or cons to living in a community? Now, you will not find that answer written down here. What I'm asking you to do is think about, in terms of your prior knowledge, what are good things about living in a community with groups of people, and what would be some bad things? And we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Name 3 ideas we get from the Mesopotamian civilization. What does the word Mesopotamia actually mean, and what are the 2 rivers of Mesopotamia? What region or large area of land was Mesopotamia found in, and why did people decide to settle there and not somewhere else? And then lastly, what is a division of labor? So I'm asking you to define that, and then I'm also asking you to explain to me how we see division of labor today in our society. Okay, so before civilization begins, people are hunters and gatherers, or they are nomads, meaning they don't have a settled home. They travel from place to place, and they're basically traveling from place to place to follow the food. So if the food is walking away from you, you're probably going to follow it if you want to survive. And as they follow the food, they are gathering up things that they can eat from the land. Well, eventually settlement occurs and civilization is born. People figure out that they can farm. People put down roots in terms of not only farming, but building permanent homes. More people come, your population is going to grow. You get a group together, you're going to have government occur. People will have inventions, division of labor, and we have our community. Now, there's many good reasons why people would want to be together with other people, but sometimes there's also some disadvantages as well. So this would be a good time to think back on your experience in living with the community, in living around other people, be it your home or your neighborhood or your city, and come up with 2 or 3 reasons why those would be good and bad things. Okay, just a little humor here, folks. You can read it and move on. All right, Mesopotamia was around 7000 BC to 500 BC. BC time counts down to 0, so that's why the numbers are going down instead of up like we would see today. Oh, that's fun. Okay, it is called the cradle of civilization because if you think about it, babies go into cradles, babies are young, they have to grow, they have to learn, and Mesopotamia is kind of our learning starting point for all the civilizations we'll talk about. It's the first. Mesopotamia gives many future civilizations, including ours, many ideas. So some of the ideas that we will talk about more in depth later on include the first writing, the wheel, which turned out to be a pretty darn good invention, the first written laws to explain what people could and could not do, and their math system was based on the number 60. Okay, so Mesopotamia is not around anymore today. However, where it once was is now called Iraq. You may have heard of Iraq. Hopefully you have. So we're talking about the Middle East. The Fertile Crescent is a large area where Mesopotamians settled. They call it fertile because it's green. It signifies that they can grow food there. and it's a crescent shape, or if you've seen a crescent moon or a crescent roll, that's kind of the look that they're going for right there. It is found with the two rivers, the Tigris right here and the Euphrates, and both of those empty into a large body of water called the Persian Gulf. And if you notice, Mesopotamia is bordered on two sides by deserts. So the people wanted to settle in the fertile areas where they would have water and ways to get food. So if you look at all the cities here, Babylon, Nineveh, Uruk, you can see they are all along the rivers, and they were using the rivers not only for water needs for farming for their animals, but also for transportation. So they could use these to move very quickly from place to place. All right, the word Mesopotamia is actually a Greek word. It means the land between the rivers. Today, Iraq is found here. And like I said in the last slide, it's green, it's fertile. They were able to grow food and survive thanks to the Tigris and Euphrates. And you can see the rivers right here. Outside of Mesopotamia, though, the land is pretty much flat and desert, so the people, if they wanted to survive, settled in the area called the Fertile Crescent, which basically means a large arc of fertile farmland. Okay, so what we see happening is a good example of cause and effect. People develop agriculture and they figure out, hey, we've got steady supplies of food. We no longer need to hunt and gather. We can stay in one place. Because their food source is there and available, they're going to stay put by creating homes. When they develop their housing, we're going to have government begin. We're also going to see something called division of labor. Division of labor is defined as an arrangement in which each worker specializes in a particular job. So no longer were their days full of trying to figure out where their next meal was coming from. Now they were farming, now they were able to have a surplus or more than enough food so they could divide up the work of the community. So think about in your community today, what types of division of labor do you see? We are not all doing the same job, so think about what do your parents do? What do your aunts and uncles do? What do your neighbors do for jobs? And we'll talk about that tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to leave you with a song by Mr. Nicky. It is about Mesopotamia. Some of these things may sound familiar to you now that you've heard about the geography, and some of these things, if we hear the song at the end of our unit, are going to sound a lot more familiar to you because we will be talking about them. So enjoy.
Euphrates River. Hey, I got a new lesson for you about ancient Mesopotamia. Euphrates River and the Tigris River form the cradle of civilization. Akkadians long ago, conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, both the Euphrates River and the Tigris River used to flood, bringing lots of fertile mud. But the problem was that water washed away the crops. Dams and levees made it stop. When it was dry, they'd irrigate. Fighting over water led to war between the city-states. Uniform is ancient writing that tells us Sumer city-states were always fighting. They were the first civilization in Mesopotamia. Then came the Akkadians who started empire mania. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. King Sargon got real old, told his sons to take the throne, but the huge Akkadian empire would fall out of their control. Then came Hammurabi, who would take full command. Hammurabi was the king of the Babylonians, man. Babylonia was the land where they told you obey Hammurabi's code, praise Hammurabi's code, break Hammurabi's code, and you'll be saying, oh no. Akkadians long ago, conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots, they rode by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Babylonians built roads, they traded grain for gold. They kept themselves united under Hammurabi's code. Hammurabi's code, Hammurabi's code, Hammurabi's code, Hammurabi's code, which was a bunch of laws they believed it had no flaws. They obeyed it just because they thought Hammurabi was chosen by the gods. Oh, chosen by the gods. Oh, Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rode by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down